Hi friends, it's Sarah from Ruffles and Rainbows. Today we're going to do an easy craft. I love them. So I'm going to use some paint in any color you want. I'm going to use sandpaper and masking tape. I am also going to be using a tissue paper and any blank you want. I'm also going to be using the Mod Podge. Okay, so I just took this outside and sanded all of this, so I had a relatively smooth, you know, piece to work on. And then I am going to tape up the sides, and I'll talk about that in just a second. So I'm going to be using this Mod Podge because I have a bucket of it. It's matte and it doesn't add any shine and make things look plasticky, but you can use whatever you want. If you want to just mix PVA glue and water, make your heart happy. There's a lot of different formulas for decoupage glue out there, so just use what you've got. This isn't special. So I want to talk about the masking of the edges. I don't want to paint the edges because I have a vision, and I don't know if it's going to come out when I'm making it at this point, but I do have a vision. So I went through and just kept the masking on this pretty thick edge. I'd say that's probably just under an inch thick. And because of that, it had some really cool wood striations on it that I wanted. So once I had the masking on, I went ahead and did a very thin layer of Mod Podge just along that edge. So you can see it's on the masking tape and it's on the top a little bit. And that is just so that I don't have any seepage of the paint into the edges. By the way, we're going to be sanding this thing again. So if you do get paint on the edges and you don't want it, it's no big deal, right? It's just, you can sand it off. I am using gesso, which I like to use as a base layer on any kind of textured wood. And by the way, this is textured, and I'm going to show you it close up so you can understand what I mean. It is gorgeous. So I'm just going to put a very thin, you can see a very thin layer of gesso paint rolled on because I'm lazy. I didn't want to clean any other brushes. I either did this in December or January, and I'm just now sharing it, but I didn't want to go and get my hands wet. All right, so I'm just going to put on a second layer for this. And just FYI, you'll see I'm going to do a different technique. I'm not using a white-based tissue paper, so you'll see what I'm going to do. Once I have the paint dry, I'm going to go ahead and just put a thin layer of Mod Podge. So you can see it's not really thin, right? But there's a lot of ridges in this. It is not perfectly smooth. And so again, I'll show you up close once the tissue paper is on. It's so pretty. But I just brushed that on with a brush too small because, again, I didn't want to go and get another brush. Was pretty lazy chill crafting. I hit that with the hot air gun. What is it? Oh my goodness. The heat gun. Heat, air, whatever. The thing to dry it. Now I'm going to place you can see it's like a creamy color. So I'm just going to crease this all around because I want that particular flower on this piece, and I'm going to make something else with the other pieces of this tissue paper. If you go to paper stores, you can find the most beautiful paper, and all of it works with decoupage. So now that I'm just going to yank off all that masking tape because I want this to be adhering right onto directly to the piece. And so now I am not going to use a piece of parchment or a piece of Teflon or anything. You can see mine's on 1, but you can go up to 3 if you're using something thick. This is not very thick. I am going directly on this piece. Now you'll see me pick this up a couple times and look at the bottom just to make sure I don't have any like Mod Podge coming through. I didn't, but you can see how it's not burning it, but it is keeping that like tannish color on that white background. So you don't have to do it that way. It does not burn it, does not scald it or anything like that. But I think it looked really good. And I'm going to show you the detail that I got doing it. It's just amazing. So I'm going to use that little cast off. That's the only reason I cut that off. Normally we would just go right straight to this and sand it off. So if you use a 120 grit, it goes a lot. Like it just goes faster. So 3 or 4 swipes and you're all the way around. But you can see I'm going really slow because I do not want to take any of that cream colored tissue paper off to make the white come through. I love decoupage. Like this is one of the most simple, easy, and most adaptable things. You can take a Dollar Tree tray and make it wonderful. You can go to the thrift store and get anything that's old up and busted. I have to do some sanding on that edge, you see. But you can take anything and just make it so pretty and match any decor that you're trying to do. All right, so now obviously we're doing the same thing. I'm going to put a nice, generous coat of Mod Podge on here. So you can see, I'm going to edit this part out, I think. But you're just going to put your coat on there going with the grain of the wood because like I said, this wood is very textured. And then I'm just going to make sure it's all smoothed out. And then I'm going to let that dry. That is not the only coat that I give this because it is going to be a tray. So I'm going to take it outside and also do 2 clear coats of this spray adhesive now that the Mod Podge is dry. Because again, I'm going to be setting stuff on it and I want to seal all this wood around here as well. So I'm just going to take that outside. Look at all my painted rocks. I'm sure my husband loves that by the pool, but whatever. I just kick them over and then they look non-painted. So anyway, why I'm giving you vertigo is because I want to show you this. Look at this up close. Isn't that gorgeous? It looks like a pattern and you can see the wood, like the grain through it. Even though we sanded it, it just looks so pretty. This is one of my favorite projects I've done this year. So while those coats were drying, etc., I just took this handoff or cast off and this Dollar Tree frame. You can see it's damaged. So I was like, well, I got to cover it. Chiffon ribbon, you all know if you've been here more than 5 minutes. Oops, I love it. These I got on Amazon. They're just these like 1 inch by 2.5 inch little stands. They're perfect for legs if you get a plaque from the Dollar Tree and add that. But I'm going to do, I used to travel and when I would go to France, I would see these standing portraits. They were like mini portraits and they had these simple stands with usually a bow and some kind of intricate thing at the top. Intricate things at the top, not my style, but I thought the bow would be cute in the back of some pictures that I was doing. So I'm going to do the same exact process. If you have any tips for decoupaging on canvas, drop them below. I'm not kidding because I feel that if you don't use an epic ton of glue, you're going to have lifting, right? Or is that just me? So this particular project, I used a literal epic ton of glue and then I dried it and then I put the rolled up paper towel under it so I could lift it and elevate it. And again, this one I in fact did, it was already painted white so I don't have to do anything, but I did use a parchment on this one because I felt that the canvas, I had to go over it a lot more than normal, especially a lot more than any hard surface. So I just did the front, did all of the sides, and then I'll check everything. I'm sure there's a better way to do the sides. Probably not teetering it precariously on its edge. I have no idea what that is though. If you have tips, drop them below. So once I made sure that all of my edges were on, because I'm going to cover the back, but once I made sure all the edges were on, I just basically left the tissue paper on the edge and then just sanded off the back because who cares if we mess up the back of the Dollar Tree canvas? We're going to cover it anyway. So once I brushed that off and cleaned up my mess, I'm going to Mod Podge this again. Now let me show you something. See how pretty the canvas looks right now? Oh wait, I destroy it. Don't worry. See that little junk in the middle there? I dropped the hot heat gun or whatever all over it. Yeah, didn't go well. So now I've turned it upside down. You see that big mark there? I don't care because I'm going to use it anyway, but I was upset at myself because I have this big skid mark on the actual canvas. So try not to do that. I was a bit clumsy that day. So here I'm just using a beautiful navy felt that's not even ironed. I was going to brayer it down, but it didn't get rid of the wrinkles. So I'm just going to stretch it on the back of the canvas and pull out the wrinkles that way. So I'm using my trusty handy non-powered glue or staple gun and put that all over the back. Now I'm going to just tie a bow out of the chiffon ribbon. And I'm going to use a combination of E6000 and what is it, like the Gorilla Super Glue Pen. I love that thing. Best invention ever. I don't glue my fingers together, and we love that for us. And then I'm just going to make that combination and then hold this. I held it for a good 2 minutes. I watched some TikToks. It was great. Then I glued on the bow, and that is it for this project. I hope you liked it. I love the tissue paper. I think it's easier to work with than napkins. So if you get a chance, go ahead, find some fun tissue paper that you like and grab it. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe for more crafting fun.